When I was younger, I used to think that avoiding pain, avoiding mistakes, and just playing it safe is actually a success. Like if you stay safe, if you never get hurt, if you don't make any mistakes, it means that you're winning in life, and that if you just avoid any pain at any cost, it means that I've lived well. And if that truly resonates with someone, I want you to know that your scars are not your failures. They're actually the proof that you lived. And life without scars is life without growth. And growth, this is the main reason why we all come here, to learn, to understand who we really are, to grow in certain aspects of our personality, soul, to open hearts, to become more in likeness of the Creator. Maybe you've learned in this life, or maybe someone taught you, or maybe you believe that playing it safe is all that life is about. But in reality, people who avoid pain also avoid things like depth, love, transformation, courage, purpose, and realizing their full potential. So basically, playing it safe is you numbing your potential of what you could be, the best version of you that you were meant to become. Avoiding pain is not mastery. True spiritual mastery is transmuting pain. Now, what does it mean? I am talking about inner alchemy and the sacred fire of transmutation. In alchemy, there is an ancient principle that all impurity is revealed by fire. So alchemists believed that fire was never the enemy, it was actually the revealer. They believed that metals do not become impure by accidents. They actually accumulate all the stain and dirt and heaviness through experiences, memory, and unconsciously absorbing things throughout lifetimes. The same is true for the soul. We don't come here stained and heavy. We actually become stained through conditioning, fear, abandonment, trauma, ego defenses, and survival patterns. And inner alchemy says, you're not being punished, you're being purified. Every difficulty, every heartbreak, and every collapse is the heat that actually exposes what can no longer stay and go into the next chapter of your life. It's as if the stain is brought to the surface and it's being burned off, and it's very unpleasant. You don't want to look at this. It's very uncomfortable. It's painful to see the parts of yourself that you have either suppressed because they were labeled as not good ones, or because your caregivers were not able to care for you in a way that you needed when you were a child. And you decided, okay, well, I don't need this. I can't be open, loving, and needing. I'm just going to suppress all of this, and I won't need intimacy and closeness at all. So all of these patterns, all of these limiting beliefs, all of that programming, everything that you have suppressed, the fragmentation of you, everything is being brought to the surface. And very few people stay in this because the first reaction is to run away, to hide, to suppress, to not look into this because it is extremely uncomfortable. Basically, you're being confronted with all the parts of yourself that have been previously fragmented as a result of trauma. So what ends up happening? That as a result of this trauma, conditioning, fear, abandonment, your soul gets fragmented into small, tiny parts, and you unconsciously choose just to show certain parts of you that are accepted, that you think are good. But the other parts, the parts where you needed your caregiver, parts where you needed love, you wanted to be close, where you had your emotional needs, you choose to suppress. So all of this starts coming to the surface, and it's all burning, not because God is angry, but because God wants to take away everything that's not you, that's not needed, in order for you to hold more light. As an example, think of a piece of gold with a metal alloy wrapped all around it. So gold is your soul. while alloy is the ego. And gold never melts and never burns, but everything else does. That's why spiritual crises always feel like panic, grief, detachment, loss of control, ego defenses, losing all of the illusions. And that's happening not because you're burning, but because alloy is melting. And the ancient alchemists always said that ego is not actually bad. It's just the part of us that melts. So these impure metals, quote unquote, the pride, the fear, the grasping, the illusion of control, the survival identities, they all are burning because they cannot enter the higher states of consciousness and unconditional love. That's why they are melting and they're burning, and you're not losing anything essential. You're just losing parts that were never you. So you're not losing yourself. You're actually losing the false layers that you've accumulated throughout lifetime or lifetimes. And it is also very important to note that this process of alchemical sacred fire is only triggered when you're ready, when your soul is mature enough so that it can endure this process to finally awaken. That's why it doesn't happen when you're 18. It doesn't happen when you're numb or when you're asleep. It comes when you're finally strong enough to awaken to this illusion and understand that black implies white, self implies other, life implies death. And you can start to feel yourself not as something here on probation, not as something that has arrived here by fluke, but you can start to feel your own existence as absolutely fundamental. People who haven't started the alchemy process panic at the first heat. They tend to run, numb, and cling to control. Well, the key aspect here is to actually stay with what you're feeling, with what's coming up to the surface, surrender completely, and let God do the purification process in you, and let Him complete the work that He started. You don't suppress the stain, you transmute it. That's why it feels like dying when you finally relinquish control. Because in reality, your ego is dying, and that is absolutely necessary for you in order to be able to get rid of everything that has never been you in the first place. Surrender is the moment when flames touch the alloy, the ego. So this is not punishment. This is the process. The process that is absolutely necessary for the next level of evolution of your soul. Maybe what I'm sharing will help you see that your difficulties are not obstacles. They're actually blessings in disguise, because every heartbreak burns away illusions. Every betrayal burns away naivety. Every delay burns away impatience. Every disappointment burns away fantasy. Every humiliation burns away pride, and every collapse burns away the false identities. By the time the fire is done, what remains is clarity, discernment, spiritual authority, truth, alignment, steadiness, and purity of heart. So the you that survived the sacred fire is actually the real you. Stain is not your fault. It's actually the purification of your destiny. And if you've been really harsh on yourself, feeling guilty and shameful for how life has unfolded, I want you to understand that it's not your fault. You did not cause the stain and heaviness. Life did. Trauma did. Past experiences did. Family systems did. The past life karmic threads did. The early environments did. But purification, that's the God's promise. It's actually His divine love disguised as crisis. Inner alchemy teaches us where there is fire, there is destiny. Where there is burning, there is a rebirth. And where there is collapse, there is transmutation. You don't become light by escaping fire. You become light going through it. That's why they say the only way out is through. Life's hardest moments are not punishments, they are assignments. And every scar is a medal or badge of honor showing that you have survived. And now you can guide others.